So, all right, we're live. So, and for the first time, we're actually going on a few minutes early, which never ever happens. Usually 10 minutes late. So, welcome everybody. Welcome GINA and KAYLA to the 22nd episode of the Celebrating the Brand Ambassador. Really excited to have both of you on. If you ladies want, I'll give you the moment to like share it to your page, and because nobody's watching just yet, I can tell how many views come in, so I know how it works.
I don't see it yet.
Yeah, there it goes. It should be up there now.
Gotcha. Yep.
Cool. Because actually it shows me they. So just to begin the conversation, so I'm really excited. Because I think you're my first. I've had whiskey brand ambassadors on here before, and I've had women whiskey brand ambassador Nicola Risk. Have you ladies ever met Nicola?
Yes.
Carolyn? Yeah. So she's a little force of nature, that one.
Yes, she is.
She's a little perky bunny, and I adore her. I've known her for a very long time, and I'm always amazed at the amount of knowledge, that comes up, and it's just incredible. And I think both of you probably, with the amount of degrees and stuff like that, would just blow anybody away. But what I love to start with is, what are your current positions and responsibilities? So GINA, I'm going to start with you. What is your current role? What do you do?
So what do I do? My current role is the Trade and Education Brand Manager for Canadian Whiskey. And I cover the U.S. market for that. And really what the heck does that mean? What does that entail? I work for Corby Spirit and Wines in Canada, who has a fantastic whiskey portfolio. You'll see right behind me.
Very nice done.
But in the U.S., we import to two different importers, so the portfolio is split. However, our educational strategy really is an overarching being the leaders in educating about the Canadian whiskey category. And that entails showing the breadth of styles within the category, which means our importers need to be at the Canadian whiskey table at Whiskey Fest together. And they need to, be at our Glamp site pop-up at San Antonio Cocktail Conference or whatever it may be, or any kind of online course that we've developed, really having two entities that see each other as competitors working together, all ships rise, high tide here is our theory. So my role really is kind of an umbrella role of overseeing all the education that comes into the U.S. from our company and how we want that presented, and working very closely with our global ambassador, making sure that his time is spent in the right places and using all of his knowledge and his strengths to their best use. But also, if I have they both have the same distributor in one state, and they both ask us for GSM 2 weeks apart, we're not just presenting the same information 2 times in a row to the same group of people. So really my job entails a lot of different things and a lot of logistics, a lot of scheduling, but really making sure that we're bringing the best educational material for each circumstance to present the Canadian whiskey category.
Which is great. Every brand ambassador should have a handler.
A handler.
You're Dave. I mean, you have a lot of job at being Dave Mitten's handler. You really are. You're Dave Mitten's handler.
I hope he's watching and laughing.
Yeah, and he loved the tour. He couldn't say nothing. He's like, I could not exist without GINA. So yeah, which is fantastic. So you make all the world go round, as most women do. Keeping everything on schedule at all time, and education. And I know from the amount of degrees that you have, I'm sure the education, I'm very excited. We'll talk about it a little bit, that GINA has an online training program that they created for Canadian whiskey, which is very exciting, but we'll talk about that next. But KAYLA, you also have an interesting role. Like, neither one of you have a traditional brand ambassador role, so
yeah. I technically, my title is brand ambassador, but I was talking to you about how that kind of encompasses a lot of different things with Brown-Forman, and especially just I've been with the team for over 4 years now, and my role's changed a lot. But right now I'm representing our Irish and single malt category as a brand ambassador, but really acting as an extension of the brand team and our field marketing team and as a market manager. So I'm responsible for typical brand ambassador things, trade advocacy, visiting accounts, some sales, and then also retail sales. I work with the distributor very closely. I work with our marketing team really closely and develop national programs and kind of cover the whole state and wherever else they might need me. I just did something in Seattle a couple weeks ago, so all over the place. So
all hands on deck.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really are doing everything with the kitchen sink, which is, as I said, yesterday we were talking about. It's a great experience because you are able to learn new skills that you would not get in a traditional brand ambassador role. Like Gina, she's worked at the same company I have, and you are very separated from the company, so you don't get that internal exposure as much as you would like, or the experiences. So it's exciting things for you, Kayla. It sounds like a good place to be. So I always like to start off with like becoming a brand ambassador. I know it's been a little while ago. Always has its challenges. So because I think it's one of the hardest jobs when you first come on, and within the first year, it's like there's a lot of things you kind of learn. So if you could remember like 2 or 3 of the things you found, the most difficult, the first few months in the job, that you thought you realize now you wish you could pass that knowledge, or you do pass that knowledge on to other brand ambassadors, like, hey, you should know this the first couple of months. This is what kind of to expect, or things that I learned the hard way. Gina, you want to go first?
Sure. Wow, there's so many. You're kind of thrown into the fire, and like, good luck. But, I'll start off with one of the best pieces of advice, and I still use this piece of advice to this day, but when I got it from my boss when I first started, Ewan Morgan, at the time at Diageo, I had no idea what he meant, and he did not go into explanation, and I didn't ask because I was scared out of my mind. Not of him, just like I had no idea what I was doing. So I just thought, okay. But what he said was, you need to learn to manage your managers. And I thought, that makes 0 sense. My managers are supposed to manage me, tell me what to do. I go do it, boop, bop, done, right? But, when I started with the Master of Whiskey program with Diageo, I was a whiskey ambassador and working for over 35 brands with 100 and something SKUs and deer in headlights. And I came to realize over time, which this took me way too long to realize, but I came to realize what he meant was you're going to have, Bullett's brand manager and the single Scotch brand manager and this brand manager and me, your boss, and the distributor in New York, and all these people asking you for a million things, because to them your priority is their brand or what they need done. They don't see all of your goals, all of your KPIs that you need to fulfill. They see what you need to do for them. And then they're suddenly like, well, why are you spending all this time on single malt Scotch when I know you need to do all of these things for me? And so, what he meant was you need to learn how to say no to people.
Yep.
Or, manage them in a way that is, saying, look, my priorities right now is A, B, C. I cannot do that for you, but I can do that for you in 2 weeks. Or so-and-so might be able to do that for you. Let's reach out to them. Like, helping them find a solution is a huge part of that as well. But, really learning the priorities, and for me, that's the hard way. I have to learn things the hard way. So I had to say yes to everything and overextend myself like many people do in this business to learn what the priorities were when. and how long things took me to execute them properly. But once you do, then understanding how to manage all the moving parts, I mean, that is a huge one to me.
Yeah, that is definitely a huge one. And also being able to go to your manager. For me, I remember, you know, I had the same thing. I worked for the entire Reserve brand portfolio, and, you know, so multiple different brands, you know, everybody's doing different things. And sometimes also having that conversation like, okay, I'm getting all these different requests. And sometimes I did have to go to my manager and say, okay, like this is the projects that I'm supposed to be working on. This is the request. Like, I actually need you to say no, because I know if I say no, this person's not going to understand it. So you have to be, and that's where I learned to use my boss for. It's like, I need you to be the person in the middle. Like, that's what an agency is good for. Like, be the person that says to the other person, like, we would love to help you. And sometimes I could have that conversation you're saying, like, I could have the kind of give them a solution, but sometimes another solution was going to your boss and saying, these are all my priorities. If I do that, I'm not going to be able to achieve what we set out to achieve. So what do you recommend? So KAYLA, have you had that same experience?
Yeah, you know, I was going to say, I think saying no was the first thing that I had to learn to be really good at, because a lot of us are coming over, you know, from the hospitality side, and we're yes people, and you're not used to saying no, but setting those boundaries was a big thing for me. And I think the thing that resonated with me that my boss told me early on, you know, in the best way, like, at the end of the day, we sell alcohol. It's going to be there tomorrow. If you have to put something off, if you need some downtime, you know, you're just one person. You can't be in 80 accounts at once. So just setting those boundaries was, I think, the biggest thing for me coming over from the hospitality side.
Yeah, no, I think that's a big one, setting those boundaries, because they do start to expect things, and you do become the easy answer. Because they know you can, especially if you're good, and, you know, like, they know, oh, just give it to her. Like, she's going to handle it. She's amazing at it, right? It's like, you know, give it to KAYLA, give it to GINA. She's awesome. Like, she'll just get it out of the park, and they don't have to think any further. So it is, to GINA, to your point, somebody's giving them other solutions. Like, yeah, I appreciate that you think I'm awesome, but I also have some other solutions for you. And
but I need to be awesome at these things.
I need to, but the awesomeness needs to be used other places. You know, GINA, I think I said to you yesterday, I was like, I one time had to break it down, like, how much they paid me. I was like, okay, so this is my salary, right? So the thing you're requesting me to do could be done by somebody who gets paid way less than I do, and really only needs the skill set of that person. So do you really want to spend me over there, or could I be doing something a lot more effective that you pay me for? And they were like, yeah, that's a good point. I'm like, okay, so let's find that person, you know, and then it's not easy though, because I'm a people pleaser. So, and I'm like, you know, it's an argument I have to have with myself and my husband often, because he's like, just say no, and I'm like, oh, it's so hard. But you do have to do it. It makes you better at your job when you do learn how to say no. It makes you much better and focus on priorities. So, KAYLA, do you have any life lessons that you learned when you first came on?
I think it's just like I could just trail off of this topic forever. I mean, we've all been there. We have like our carload of whatever POS we have and boxes, and we're like, I can do this all myself, and I'm going to get to the event early and set up and do all these things. And then I find, okay, I'm stressed out and sweaty before my event. Maybe I should pay somebody to do this for me and help me out. So it's just like all of these trickle downs of setting your boundaries, figuring out the best way. You know, you don't have to do everything. And I think that's initially when you get into these roles and you're excited, or it's something new and you're trying to, you know, do a good job, you think, I'm going to do all these things myself. And really, there's ways to manage your time better. And like we were saying, oh, well, I get paid this. Am I really best utilized doing this?
Unpacking boxes.
Usually no. Yeah.
Hiring staff is definitely something, you know, one of the lessons I started learning, and it took me a few years. I'm like, well, I'm an agency, so they like outsource everything to me, but I also know they use other agencies. So I can literally just hire that agency. Like, I have the budget, so why don't I hire that agency too to do all the schlepping and all this stuff? We're like, we have sampler models and promotional model, and like, you know, guy can do heavy lifting. So I would just add on an extra couple. Like, you're just coming here a couple hours early just to set up, and I'll pay you for it, because I shouldn't be the person schlepping the boxes.
Right. Perpetually, excuse my car. Sorry, let me move this box of whiskey to let anybody in the car.
out of the way.
Permanent living space.
Exactly. I'll tell you a funny, like one time I was pregnant. I was 7.5 months pregnant. It was my last trip that I was traveling on, because you're not supposed to travel at that point. I shouldn't have gone. And I'm in South Beach, Miami, at South Beach Food and Wine, and I'm setting up at the giant Ciroc event that we did every single year. It's about 800 people about to pile in to this, the hotel, like the outside of this hotel, and it's raining. So it's an outside event. And nobody, because they're a union, will go outside. And I'm like, we need to start setting up. We need, it's going to stop raining, but if we wait until it stops raining, we're never going to be ready for this. And the only way I could get something done was I was really pregnant. I started carrying boxes out the door, and they were like, oh my God, you're going to give birth. I was like, I'm going to give birth right here if you don't start moving right now.
They're like, all right.
And they're like, oh my, no. I was like, I'm telling you right now, like, this could trigger it. Like, I suggest we get out the door. You have to do your job just to get people learning, and a little threats does go a long way. So any other challenge? All right, name one more. Gee, there must be one other thing besides that, like one other challenge, like, when you came on where you were like just freaked out, like you're just like, you learned, you're like, oh, I wish I knew that so much earlier.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you're kind of thrown into the fire in many different ways, whether it's admin or working on several brands or whatever it is. And, one of the things when I first started was, again, so many brands in that portfolio. And literally my first day, the Bullet team called me a couple days before I started and said, hey, we have this tasting, we won this award, and there's a tasting, and do you think you're starting, so do you think on your first day you could do the tasting?
Oh my God.
Zero training on the brand.
Sounds
so
about right.
I was like, okay, yeah, because I'm starting, I'm not going to say no. Yeah, I can do that. So I just, asked for every deck anybody had on Bullet, read it myself, and said whatever bullet points that I had read, I said out loud.
And going back differently, would you said no? You'd be like, yeah, I should never have done that.
I would have said, can we do a 2-hour training before I do this? But really, I guess what I'm getting at is like understanding that, how to take in all this training all at once and be utilizing it, be presenting it very quickly. It's a very quick turnaround. Knowing that when you start, you're not an expert.
Yes.
And people are going to ask questions. They still do to this day to me, and I love it. I didn't then, but I do now. Love it when people ask me questions that I don't know the answer to. Then I was in a panic. But, you're not the expert. You're there to share the information you have. And if you don't have the information, you're going to find it for them and get back to them, Yeah. And like Kayla said, it's booze.
Yeah,
we'll get back to
curing cancer. At the end of the day, we're not curing cancer. We're literally causing it, probably, at the end of the day. Not to be dramatic, but no, somebody said, one of the other brand ambassadors said something really well. Actually, somebody said that they told them, one of their mentors said to them, she's like, you don't need to know everything at once. Don't feel like you need to know everything at once. Most people, you just need the four most important facts, like the mash bill, the aging, how it tastes in a Manhattan, and you'd be great. Like, it makes an excellent Manhattan. And for a consumer, they're like, great.
Right.
That's all I care about. What is this again? No, those are great advice. And for you, Kayla, any other ones that you kind of...
I think just, summing off of what Gina said, it's a lot at once, from brand education and a myriad of other things, and just practicing a little bit of humility. I know, like, right now it's second nature to us, but I remember my first month and all the new jargon and all the acronyms, and sitting there and going, yeah, totally, got it, no problem, and then being like, what the heck is that? Like, I've never heard of that. And it's just like whole new language that it's okay to admit, I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. Like, can you help me with this?
Yeah.
In the same way that it is with brand education, it's just like, it's a lot, and to feel that need to step back and say, I don't know, but I'd like to figure it out. So
yeah, can you give me a list of the translation of all the jargon that you're using? Because I do not, and not every brand uses the same jargon. That's what I've discovered. Because I started putting together a list. Like, tell us what do you call your KPIs? KAYLA?
Oh, KPIs.
I'm like, what are those?
Interchangeable. I know, and our fiscal year is so different than everybody else's, so it's just.
Yeah, every place is different. Oh, Anthony works at the Reserve, the Cattle Botanical Lounge in Connecticut. Yeah, no pressure with the entire Diageo team. The thing is, Anthony, you probably knew more than the people who worked on the brand about the brand. So yeah, I'm sure you found that out very quickly too. Like, you probably had a lot more brand knowledge, because that's not their job to know how their brand is made. Their job is to market it. So I learned that one too. I'm like, oh, you don't know anything about the brand. I'm like, oh, I get it now. I'm the expert. No, you don't really know a lot. And that's true of a lot of brand teams. Some brand teams, actually, the brand manager knows a lot, but I definitely have experienced many where that's not their job. That's not their role to be an expert on spirits. Their job is to be an expert on marketing. And it's your job to give them the education on the brand that they're working on. And I did a lot of brand education for brand managers, which was great. Made me feel great. I'm like, oh, I have something I can share to the team. But those are great. Those are all great. All right. So as, I'm trying to put this in there. Okay. So your job, I was going to say, since you've both been brand ambassadors, you've obviously learned some different skill sets. They weren't just, in the beginning it was about education and training. But as you've grown in your roles, you probably have learned some new skill sets that are kind of helping you in your career now. So can you think about some new skill sets that you didn't have before you came in the role that you're now using that you kind of learned along the way? GINA?
Sure. Here we go. The laundry list. Here we go again.
Yeah.
Well, I would say, first of all, being open to the fact that in any job you take, hopefully you're going to learn new skill sets and advance yourself as an individual in your career, etc. But in this role particularly, you might be asked to stand on your head and balance a glass of whiskey on the bottom of your foot at an event. So you better start taking some gymnastics classes, the craziest things may be thrown at you that you just never could see coming. But, I would say, really career-wise, on a day-to-day basis, I've become really good at PowerPoint. Lately, I am obsessed with creating QR codes. That's all the latest and greatest, and I use those like crazy now. But, on a bigger, more overarching kind of thing, I've really learned to negotiate, and for myself, really when a company is changing paths and your program is dismantled and you might be offered a job within the new program or not, or whatever you're seeing, but you're starting to look for other opportunities. I've really learned I've learned my own value and worth through time. That's taken a lot of time, and I've learned how to negotiate to be valued. And the people who don't want to negotiate aren't really the people I want to work with. They might not meet all my standards and I might not meet all of theirs, but if we're not willing to work together to, come to the best result so that, not only I can blossom, but I can do them, the best that I can do for them in the role. So I really think that that's a huge one that I've learned, is to really.
Did you take any courses? Did you take any books? Did you or just something you kind of taught yourself? Did you have somebody ask anybody?
Learning the hard way, I think. I should have crap. Oh, I should have asked for this. I didn't. Now I'm stuck doing this that I'm no good at and I'm not going to be successful at, or whatever it is. you know, so just kind of learning that. Like I said, I learned things the hard way, unfortunately. So that's...
And there's a book it's something that Philip told me, and it's a great book, and I've read it a few times. Well, I've read the summary a few times because I'm a really slow reader. It's a really good negotiation book because I have had to negotiate quite a few times. Because you do have to stand up for yourself, and you have to learn to frame things. Now I work as an entrepreneur, so I have to negotiate all the time. So framing is a big thing for me, like putting different prices and then like the one I really want. Kind of in the middle, so to give people like this what you could have with all the bells and whistles, and this is like the bare bones, and this is like smack in the middle, so they feel like they're getting good value. But yeah, negotiation for yourself, because nobody's going to give you a raise unless you ask for it. Yeah. Right. Kayla, for you, like, I don't know, have you had the same experience with negotiation?
Yeah, and like an extension of that, I think the biggest thing for me has been communication and just the way I communicate overall. Obviously, that's an important set when we're talking about sales, and each buyer is so different, you know, trying to treat people how they want to be treated, not how you expect they want to be treated, and those different personality types. But communication in general, just how little things I've found protect me as well in conversations. And so it's helped me even in like my personal life as I've had.
For example, do you have an example?
Yeah, like my mentor, a woman, I'm so lucky to have so many incredible women on my team, and she's taught me a lot about communication styles and coming up in the business as a woman, and just little things like saying that's right instead of you're right can set you up to still be heard and taken seriously as a conversation moves forward without being considered wrong or in that same way.
That's a great point. Yeah, that's a good one. Somebody once told me, don't ever apologize. Don't ever say you're sorry. Yeah.
Thank you for your patience.
Yeah. Like, never say you're sorry. I try to hold that one because I'm looking at over here like about the book. But yeah, I was gonna say no, that's a great one. That's right. Instead of saying, oh, you're right. That's a great point. I was gonna say, Gina, negotiation wise, like what have you had to negotiate about?
My contracts. I negotiate them anytime there's a turn. You know, they put forward a proposal, and I put forward a proposal, and then we kind of counter back and forth until everybody is, you know, relatively very happy and feels that we can move forward, you know, in a good way together.
Right.
So,
no,
but you know, I had to negotiate maternity leave. I was in a very weird stage at that time. Not that maternity leave. Well, at that point, I worked for an agency that didn't have a maternity leave policy because they had never had an employee that needed maternity leave. So I was like, hey, I don't really want the supplier to know yet. Nobody knows yet. But before we move forward with this, we need to talk about maternity leave. And so, I mean, it was a big one to, you know, asking for a lot of time paid off, not working.
Especially just coming on. Like, hey, by the way, in 6 months, I won't be here for like a good three months. No, it's a big one. One of the things I learned was the biggest contract I had to negotiate was when I left Diageo and I went to Anheuser-Busch. And I was negotiating with a recruiter, which I had never done before. And I was talking to a friend of mine because I was like, this is, you know, new territory for me and going to such a large corporation. And she's like, let my husband look at it because it's what he does. He like looks at it, you know, some people, this is what their expertise is. They know how to like look at contracts. And he was like, ask for a signing bonus. I'm like, what? He's like, ask for a signing bonus, completely standard. I'm like, wait, I'm going to ask them to just give me money for no reason. And he's like, absolutely. You're leaving a company. You've been there for 15 years. And they're asking you to leave and to come over to their company. So he's like, that requires you to get money. And I was like, I would never have asked for that. Like, it was just something I asked for, and they didn't even blink. They were like, yeah, of course. I'm like, wow. But they wouldn't have given it to me if I didn't ask for it. So it's like learning. So sometimes it does, getting an outside opinion sometimes, being like, hey, I'm in this middle. Is there anything else you recommend, like how I negotiate this? Because I might be able to get a better deal. Like, you know, having somebody more senior who may not work for the company, but is a, you know, more senior executive has probably negotiated a few things in their time to be like, hey, this is what I'm asking for. What's a fair value? Is there any way I can structure this differently? That has helped me a lot in my career, just getting that opinion. Definitely got a lot more out of things. The worst thing I ever did, so if you ever get fired from a company, I got let go at Anheuser-Busch, which my entire team is all gone. They dismantled it, but always get a lawyer. That's the other thing I learned. Get a lawyer to negotiate your exit package. I didn't do that. Other people did, and they got a hell of a lot more. So other things to think about. Kayla, do you have anything else you want to add to that? Skill set.
No, I think it's just, when we're talking about negotiating, like, again, I think it all kind of goes back to just building communication styles, personalities, and then I found that, just ask. Anything I want, I just ask. And if it's no, well, there's a reason why. And can I build on that? Or usually I'm surprised, like, yeah, here you go. So it's getting comfortable with asking and putting myself first sometimes.
Yeah, asking for what you want it's hard sometimes, especially if you're coming from the hospitality industry and you're a yes person, putting that forward. But if you don't ask, you're not going to get it. And the worst thing they can say is no, but it is uncomfortable. Because you're asking for something big and you're not really sure what the response will be. But having that belief in yourself, like Gina said, that I'm worth it, knowing what you're worth, like, no, but I am worth this amount of money. One time at MKTG, actually it was US Concepts, the original one. I was there that long that I went through 3 company changes, and I was supposed to get a raise, and then they were going through some financial stuff, and I had just come from a women empowerment course, so I felt really good. I felt very empowered. And so I sat down with my boss, and he was like, yeah, so, he only offered me like a 3%. I was like, that's a standard raise. So it's like, it's not worth you even giving me that raise. It's all going to go to taxes. And I said, are you still living on that apartment in Park Avenue, on Fifth Avenue? He said, yeah. I said, you still driving that Porsche? He's like, yeah. And I was like, still have the house in the Hamptons? He's like, yeah. I'm like, so you're fine. I was like, so you can afford to give me the $10,000 raise that I'm asking for because I know you're fine. I was like, so you can tell me there's not a good time right now, but it's fine. You're still doing all those things. And he was like, and they found the money. He's like, we'll figure it out. And they found the money from a contract and they gave me, but I was like, I had to finally just call him on his shit. I was like, that's bullshit. I was like, that's the standard answer that every company gets. It's not a good time right now. I'm like, I think it is a good time right now because it doesn't seem
good time for me.
It doesn't seem to be hurting you at all. It's not a good time for me. Exactly, it's not a good time for me right now because I need a raise. All right, so Kayla, your job is more like a market manager than a brand ambassador, and which requires you to sell in, right? So what are some of the key lessons you've actually learned of building relationships with your accounts and then convincing them to carry your product? There's some things, I'm sure some skill sets you've learned in this role.
Yeah, I mean, it's been so weird because before the pandemic, the first lockdown, I was working on our bourbons and it was strictly on-premise. So I had never really had a full immersion into the retail world. And then the week before lockdown, I took this job and have retail and on-premise and all in between e-commerce. So it was kind of a shock going into a retail space during these times. So learning how to sell hand sell brands that people have never tasted before in a pandemic where you can't taste people and people might not like the prices was definitely a good first year of retail. I learned a lot. And I think that in the retail space, something that I never really considered, because coming from the on-premise, a lot of the things we do for the brands are based around like education and how does it taste and will it be good in these cocktails, is a good price point, is that brand building comes into play a lot into retail. If I can't figure out if somebody wants to taste this or likes this, maybe they'll like a part of the brand story or some of our ethos or something in our background in our brand category that will resonate with them. Slane is a really sustainable brand that really helped in this time specifically with a lot of retail partners. And we have the ties to Slane Castle. So there were a lot of fans out there who were like, I didn't have any idea. I would love to carry this whiskey without ever tasting it now.
That's awesome.
So it's like focusing on, I think sometimes it's easy to get caught up in like, how does this whiskey taste? As opposed to, we really are building a brand from a 360 perspective. So there's always some touch point that can help you sell that's not the actual liquid itself.
Yeah, that's a great point. And for building a relationship with retail, because I know every retail buyer is very different. There's, the corner store guy who, like, this is just a business to him. He doesn't really drink and doesn't really care about spirits. He just carries the popular brands that people come in and out. And then there's the craft store guy, and then, or woman, and then they have the, you have the chain stores, which is a whole nother animal. So, building a relationship with, say, the corner store guy, how do you do that? Do you have you had some experience doing that?
Yeah, it's really, it's definitely different. I think this is, my husband jokes with me all the time, but he's like, I think this is the one career you found that being an empath helps you sometimes, like just being able to relate to people and kind of understand where they're coming from. But also I think the biggest thing is follow through and being, true to your word. I know we've all probably went into an account at one point and somebody said, well, I don't work with them because the last person was a jerk or didn't follow through. So just being present and following through and staying true to your word, I find goes so far, which I think for some people is hard in these roles because you're managing your own time. There's no one saying, okay, you have to be there at 4 p.m. It's like, I need to go. I need to set the parameters for what this relationship is going to be. So it's a lot emotionally too. This guy wants just a good price and he wants you to come in there and buy it and sell it. And this person wants somebody to talk to on Friday nights. And it's the whole range.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and one of the things, these days, like promising when somebody just wants a price. It's like, all right, I want a price and I want the free TV. How do you support in the off-premise, especially, during COVID, it was probably a hard time to support.
Yeah, I think it was a lot of, I think check-ins, just being there for people went a long way. Even, we would do, if we couldn't do a sampling, we'll just set up shop and do POS giveaways. We have a really nice engraving program that really helped a lot of places sell bottles around the holidays, like for St. Patrick's Day. We helped so many retail accounts just move cases of Slane they had been sitting on maybe from last St. Patrick's Day by offering, like, we can engrave this bottle for free. And just offering like things that we can legally offer to accounts without being able to sample them.
Yeah, wow, that's really cool. GINA, do you have to deal with retail at all?
I don't really. I do on the education side of retail, whether it's, we have a program coming up this next month with a few large national accounts. So, it's really kind of working with Dave and our master blender to make sure that they have all the information that they need to, they've committed to a specific program and a specific amount of cases. So we want to make sure that they have the information that they need and their staff is fully educated so that they could sell that product, And that's really where my role with retail fits in there. Also, I work on things like, just starting to work on things like neck tags and shelf tuckers because we want them to be less just marketing agency material, people who don't know our brands, more this is Canadian whiskey. This is what you should know about it, and so really coming, approaching those assets from an educational standpoint versus a marketing sales standpoint, really letting those two kind of come together.
Yeah, is that where you're using the QR codes to put them on?
Yeah, well, that's one place.
That's one place.
They're everywhere.
They're so useful. It's like so funny how we adopted them during this time. It's like when I was traveling to Asia a lot for Anheuser-Busch, if you go to Korea or China, QR codes are a standard way of life. They've been a standard way of life. I could not do an event because I used to have to throw beer festivals in Korea a lot. And you couldn't do an event without QR codes. Like every place had every table had a QR code, every stand had a QR code. It's a thing. So we have finally come on board because it's great. It's so much information you can get just by pulling it up. It pulls up coupons, it pulls up, the website. It's such a simple thing. It took a pandemic for us to get on board.
Of course.
And one of the things, I mean, I'm sure you've done it. It's like also it's like I had to do a research project for the off-premise, and I was asking, literally just going into the store and started talking to people who worked at different retailers around the country, and you know, one of the, I think it was, I was at a Benny's, and I was asking it, you know, what is the most impactful thing? You know, I was talking to one of the guys working on the floor. He said, tasting. He's like, a salesperson coming in here and tasting us on that product. He's like coming into the store individually, hosting a little event, like a little like education thing, and tasting us. He's like, those are the products we sell. He's like, the one where the buyer took the time, sat here, tasted us all, you know, brought us some pizza, and, you know, gave us a little like 30-minute like talk. He's like, that's the ones we like. And I was like, all right, noted. Mm-hmm. Education is key. So a lot of new things we're all learning this year, and most of us, the retail was like a whole new world, and it definitely is very, very different. All right, so I know, and Kayla, I know we talked about this, but I'm sure GINA, you've experienced this too. It's like, you know, one of the biggest stressors for anybody, you know, is achieving your targets or your goals. So Kayla, I want you to start with this, because I know you talked about like this was something you worried about in the beginning and how you kind of handled it, and kind of one of your best practices that you learned.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we were talking about getting thrown into so many different things in the beginning, and it can be this just stressful. You're like, I'm not going to hit these goals. I don't even know what I'm doing yet. But my biggest thing for me, when I knew there were months where, you know, whether it was this year or a normal year, that I wasn't going to hit all my goals, I think just being proactive about it and saying, I'm not going to be able to do this, but coming to them with a solution, and never just saying, I can't do it this way, but how do we get to the same end goal? That, you know, whether it was, okay, I'm not going to sell 80 cases. That's just not going to happen this month. I can sell 40 this month, and then we'll look to next month, and maybe we can do double in a month that, you know, things are better, or we have more programming behind this, more dollars behind this. But I think the overarching idea is always having a solution and not just saying I can't or I won't, and coming up with some other way to, you know, meet your goal or find a mutual point.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I mean, GINA, do you have any?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you first start as a brand ambassador, you don't have this option, but hopefully you develop a great relationship with your manager and your team, that you can develop a system where you sit down and create your goals together. Mm-hmm. I think that is so important. And I know a lot of companies have really, you know, shifted to having people, you know, assess themselves at the end of the year, quarter, whatever it is. I think that's great too, but I think it does need to, you know, go into a path of you really being part of that conversation, because mm-hmm. your manager has a better sight on the, you know, the company's goals and how you fit into that to achieve what you need to, so that the company achieves what they need to. But you have a better sight of what your strengths are and what you can execute really well. And how much time it takes you to do things. Yeah. You know, once you learn that about yourself, then working with your manager to set the goals, and you set them together so that they are helping to push the company forward toward the overarching goals. But they're also pushing you forward and setting you up for success. Mm-hmm. You know?
No,
that's really important.
Yeah, being able to set your own goals, because your boss sometimes, yeah, Kayla, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just saying, yeah, that my boss and I do that together. We'll sit around and write them for the year, and, you know, how does this look? Does this feel sustainable? Does this feel like it's going to be impactful? So there's always conversations.
Yeah, no, I think that's a big one. It's like having that conversation and going back and forth, because sometimes you're right. Like, you know your own strengths. You know what's the problem. You also know the market. You're in the street. So you understand it better. So it's being able to have that honest conversation. It's like, I understand you want this many menu placements, but really right now, nobody's changing the menus. It's going to be unrealistic for me to hit this in this month, because there's like a few places, or else they're a new account, it's not going to happen. It's probably going to be more towards the end of the quarter, because that's generally the time frame. So giving them that picture and that perspective, and they hopefully will have that trust that you are, sharing legitimate information, but which they should if you have that great relationship. And yeah, sometimes just breaking it down, like that's not realistic. I think Gina and we were talking about, like, I had a key account list of like 100 accounts, and I was supposed to hit them all in a month, and I was like, that's physically impossible. Like, and doing the math, like breaking the math down, they're like, oh yeah, it's a good point. I'm like, yeah, it's just I even if I didn't sleep or eat, like it's just not gonna happen. So yeah, being realistic, sometimes you have to show them the big picture and be like, okay, this is what is achievable. This is why I want to do these. These are our priorities. I also think, what do you think about also being proactive as a brand ambassador and sitting in maybe some of the brand team meetings and asking, like, I would love to sit in the brand team meetings, like the planning meetings, so I have a better understanding for myself what the goals are.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that's really important. Our team is so small, and we work so closely together that a lot of times the brand team, because they're so focused on the Canadian domestic market, they come to us with like, what do you guys see that the needs are? What's the direction, the market, the export market, which we in the US are part of the export market for them. Where do you see this going? And they really take our feedback into account, which I think is really important for everyone, getting everyone on the same page and understanding why the brand team is going in that direction, or why we want them to go in this direction, instead of just pulling and tugging, back and forth.
That's a good point. And Kayla, do you have the same? I mean, I know you're working, you said, very closely, but your brand team.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, and then on the other side, we're a huge supplier, but we are very interwoven with the brand team. We have monthly calls with them, and just like Gina was saying, they really value the field feedback and see value in, what we're communicating up the ladder and assessing everything from our POS to next year's brand plans that we're going to look at based on what we're seeing in the market in different countries. So it's nice to have that connection with them, because I think it helps us as much as it helps them.
Yeah, I feel you, Anthony. We feel you. Now you just have to learn to say no.
Yes.
I know you had to learn to say no. No, it's right. And I always tell people, Gina, that like it was very different at Diageo working for the agency, because were you there when it went to Enthuse as well?
I departed when it went to Enthuse.
Oh, okay, you departed, because I found that it's so funny. But as my role grew, I had less and less connection with the brand teams. It was. I used to be in those meetings, and then I just wasn't. And I realized I should have been more proactive and asked to be in the meetings, because, rather than waiting for them to ask me. I don't think they knew to ask me, like to come into the meetings. But yeah, I think it's important, because I find there's a big disconnect from, especially at Diageo, from the brand ambassadors to the brand teams, because we were so separated, and it was a very weird role, and they probably could have benefited a lot more from that interaction. But I think you have to be proactive. And I realized, having these comments, like, you know what? I probably should have been a little more proactive on my own end, just to make sure that happened rather than waiting for them. I learn things all the time from having these conversations. Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's talk about, so you both have moved out of your traditional brand ambassador roles to more advanced roles with the company. So Gina, can you tell us, you started talking about a little bit before about designing your own job. So tell us, your current role and how you got it, because it was a big change. Yeah.
Yes, it was a big change. So, prior to this role,
you weren't crazy, Anthony.
Prior to this role, I was the Lot 40 National Ambassador. And basically, Corby's contract with Pernod Ricard USA, they were the importer at that time. That contract ended. Corby decided to take the portfolio, split it between two importers, like I had said earlier, and still wanted this overarching category education and being the leaders of the category. So, you know, I had a few other opportunities, luckily, but I also, in my heart, felt like I had more work to do on Canadian whiskey. I wanted to stay with the team and with Canadian whiskey. So I just went to them and proposed a job. I said, you need someone overseeing all of this. You're going to have two importers going, you know, in opposite directions. Who's connecting the dots here and who's overseeing everything? So the director told me, like, okay, write up a job description. Tell me what those responsibilities would be and how you see this, how would you execute it? And I wrote up like a 7-page PowerPoint presentation job description. But they took me up on it, and here we are, you know? So
that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, being able to write your own job is pretty, and as you grow in your career, it becomes kind of standard, like, what would you like to do? Right. Which is really, really awesome. And KAYLA, I know your job is really different, you know, and I know you have future goals for where you want to do in Brown-Forman. And Brown-Forman, one thing I think is really cool about the company, I've interviewed a few brand ambassadors there, is that there's a lot of education that they provide to employees at Brown-Forman. So yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, it's probably the same at other suppliers and other brands, but we have a lot of direct access to master distillers, master blenders, like direct lines of communication, and we do a lot of trainings with them, so it's straight from the source. So there's never any lapse in any sort of brand education, which is super helpful, obviously, for a multitude of reasons. But just in general, I think, you know, the community of Brown-Forman and our entire team, the company itself has a really long tenure. People don't leave there, and there's probably a reason, because they just create a safe working environment. Everybody that I work with is amazing, and we lost some of our team this last year, and not because of furloughs, really, just some people moved on to different opportunities. We lost our Woodford ambassador, Johnny. I don't know if he's on. Hi, I miss you. But he was with us forever, and he just went on to do other things. And so our team got really small this year. And so in addition to my role already being a lot of things, I think I became the Brown-Forman person in market. So obviously Scotch, single malts, and Slane are top of my list, but I've done a lot of Woodford this year. I'm still like the Old Forester point contact in market, and we're working on Fords, and just leveraging, you know, we have a great family of brands and people. So.
But I also know you work more like you're learning about how to be a brand manager, because that's your goal, like to be an associate.
Yeah, I would like to go on brand side. And my field marketing manager, she came from brand side, and she's been with Brown-Forman for a long, long time. And she's really taken me under her wing. I think, you know, they really set us up to succeed in roles in Brown-Forman and help us stay in those positions for hopefully ever. So.
Which is great. So they actually provide education platforms, right? Don't you have a complimentary, like there's like schools or something? Or
yeah, we did like a lot of LinkedIn learning stuff and online courses throughout the pandemic. People who didn't have their CSS, they paid for that. Just a lot of, you know, they want us to continue education for whatever direction we might want to go. One of our local market managers, she's my communication guru. She's set up a development program for all of us like years ago and has followed up with it and just taken the time. So I hope to someday be that person for somebody else. I mean, it's been just to have people on your side the whole way. And finding, and you know, GINA's a place like that too, finding people who are on your side from the beginning and wishing you the best and wishing you success is important.
Yeah, and becoming an associate brand manager would be a big, I was saying, GINA, I was saying to KAYLA, I was like, you know, in some companies that's not a possibility because you have to have the master's degree and master's in marketing to get that done. So within Brown-Forman, that is a possibility, right, KAYLA?
Yeah.
Yeah. So for yourself, it's more about applying for that job, but also maybe getting the skill sets between now and then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. So for our Jack flavors, our associate brand manager came from one of our like consumer brand ambassador roles straight into that, and he's been in that role for a few years and he's crushing it. It's really about is this person good for the brand? And we were talking about, brands go through evolutions as well. So maybe 5 years from now you weren't a fit, but in 5 years you will be.
No, which is really great. Not every company has those kind of opportunities to go to those more to cross over. Mm-hmm. So that's a really impressive thing. No, Gina, trust me. Every time I learn about different companies, I'm always like, God, I stayed at Diageo for way too long. I was like, there are other companies that are best in their team a lot more. I can't complain. I actually had a great job. But all right, so let's talk about. All right, so Gina, I'm going to bring it up because you are a mom in the industry, which there's a lot of people becoming moms these days. When I became a mom, there was no other moms. Like, I was the only one. I almost pretended I didn't have a kid half the time. Because it's like not the cool thing to do. Not that having a kid is cool, but it's not easy. So, and I know a lot of people actually worry. I was talking to Natasha Sophia, and she's like, people literally said to her, like, "Oh, you're going to stay in the industry? Like, after you have a kid?" She's like, "Of course I'm going to stay in the industry. Like, I'm just having a kid. Like, I'm like, I'm not dying. Like, and I'm like, did somebody ask you that?" I was like, so, yeah. How's it being? How's it like being balancing it?
Oh, well, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's great. It's great. It's crazy. It's exhausting. You're a mom as well, but you also yesterday we had a little chat, and you experienced my son, me needing to leave our chat for potty breaks because we're doing that now. So it's crazy, but when you work with such a great team of people that understand, and I'm very lucky because my whole team are Canadians, and Canadians are very family oriented for the most part. Society, they get a year's worth of maternity leave. I didn't get that because I'm in the US, but but they understand the value of family. My son is 2, and before the pandemic, he had attended San Antonio Cocktail Conference twice. He had attended Tales of the Cocktail. He had attended Portland Cocktail Week. I mean, you do what you have to do. And if you want it to work, you can make it work. Yeah. But it is, you make a lot of adjustments in how you work and the hours you work. I can't be out past midnight. I got to be up at 5:30, 6 o'clock. Like, that's not going to work. So you adjust. You make adjustments, and when your team sees that your quality of work is not dropping and that you're still fully engaged, then there's no issues. You do your job just like everybody else, and you make it work. It's crazy.
Yeah, I was going to say, it is, I think I'll tell you, like, I used to bring Dylan with me to South Beach Food and Wine, and, like, she came to Tales as well. And I think I asked for help. Like, I negotiation. Like, I sat down with the Ciroc team, and I was like, I was the only person working on Ciroc, and I was like, they I was running all their programs, and I was like, if you need me to go here, like, I need to take my kid with me because there's nobody to watch her. Like, there's just nobody. So right. I was like, so I need to expense a nanny, and I need to be able to bring my nanny, and I need to be able to like cover her flights. Like, I'll pay my nanny, but I just need you to cover her flights and the hotel room and whatever. And but I had to ask. I asked the thing. I was like, this is what I need. Like, I have no problem doing the job, but this is what I need to do it. And I know it's a big request, but this is my thing. And I was very good. They gave it to me. They were like, we'll find room in the budget. You just do what you have to do. And yeah, my niece, who was my babysitter, flew with me to a lot of places. And my daughter came along with me. And you do need a support.
Honestly, my next business is going to be a babysitting service at every cocktail festival for people traveling and needing childcare, because
there's a lot more of them.
I have needed it. Yes,
yeah,
I have needed it.
There's so many. I've actually heard of people like sharing nannies when they get down. Like the older parents are like, "Hey, share a baby, share a nanny." But there, you can do it, and you can still do this job. I think you obviously can still work in the industry. You might adjust, like being a normal brand ambassador and being out every night. Probably not the easiest, balance. You might have to shift what your role is and how you are doing it.
Right.
Somebody asked me once, like, how can I do being a normal brand ambassador, being a mom? I'm like, you probably can't. It's really hard, or you have to have a really good support system at home. I was like, where they don't mind that you're going to be out 3 or 4 nights a week. And you just work around, you make it work. I was like, it's like you figure it out. You just schedule your life. Your life becomes a schedule. Everything about the schedule. And you're already scheduling. You're already a handler. Now you need your own handler. You need a handler, to make that happen. But it is possible to do both. It just, it is an adjustment. Yeah, I was never the cool person. I could never be like, oh, we're going to go out for shots. We're all be hanging out. This is like 2006, 2007. The industry's just taking off, and I'm trying to bond with all these people who I'm 10 years older than. So I'm like, yeah, I got to go home. I got to get up in the morning to get my kid, whatever. They're like, you're a mom? I'm like, yeah, I'm a mom. They're like, how old are you? Doesn't matter. I just got to go.
Doesn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah. That was always an interesting conversation to have. Okay, so let's also talk about KAYLA. You have a wellness program that you also work on, a program that you have built, I know, with other people in the industry. So I'd love to hear more about it.
Yeah, so I worked with a local nonprofit that was focused on mental health for a couple of years, and haven't for a while now. But the support staff, girls, Laura, Kelton, Moni, and Christina, have developed this extension of kind of what they were hoping to do in the first place. So it's a bartender, mental health, wellness industry overall, charity, and they're doing amazing things. As women are so fantastic. I can't even thank them enough. But we just started, Laura and I were talking about these sweat sessions. I think we were talking about just like bartender movement in general. We did our first one last week. But Slane, throughout the pandemic, I tried to do a series of education opportunities for people and industry folk that didn't want to just learn about alcohol, because I feel like from brand perspective, it's always about the alcohol, and then the events become centered around that instead of it being a portion of the event. So we did barista classes, we did American Sign Language classes for a night of service, and just a couple of other one-offs. Like before First Lane, we had done a month of shred classes when we could do that, just to do something different. I knew, mental health in this industry is such a huge concern, and we've lost a lot of our friends over the past couple of years. So it's always just been something that's important to me, and focusing on, we have a pause program at Brown-Forman, which is just our responsibility messaging, but always incorporating that, like, we can drink, but we can drink responsibly. We don't have to over imbibe to have fun anymore. And just kind of setting that quote bar that those days are kind of behind us as an industry.
No, I think that's such a great thing. And I was saying, is like, I love like these days brand ambassadors can have platforms that they can help elevate, and the companies can help support them, which is really, really great. And something, this is a question I'll put out there because it's something I've been asking bartenders here in New York. I was like, are you going to be able to ever go back to 4 o'clock in the morning? And they're like, I don't think they can do it, because they said that for a year now, like, even though it's been really stressful, they're closing at midnight, right? So they're closing the bar at midnight, because that's when for a long time it was 10, then it was 11, then midnight. They're like, midnight's perfect. So, and they're like, I don't think I could do it. They're like, I have a life now. Like, the balance of like being able to have that life and to be able to bar job. I mean, for you guys, have you had that conversation with Bart, like about, in Chicago, I don't know what the curfew is in Chicago at the moment.
We're fully open at this point.
What time do bars close? 2?
I'm not up that late. I don't know.
I did see that the 4 a.m. licenses just got the green light. Whoever does that, I don't know.
Yeah.
I won't be.
No.
I don't know. It's been interesting to have some conversations with people who are like, yeah, I don't want to go back unless I can find, an 11 o'clock midnight bar. because I'm getting sleep, I'm drinking water, I'm getting up in the morning and doing things, having a schedule.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a big change. Well, I think because the consumer's gotten trained, and I think if we can just keep them trained to go out early, so and then like the bars get full earlier. Because the only reason we stayed open late is because when I was in my 20s, you didn't go out till 11,
Right.
and then the bars didn't get busy, so they did most of their business between 11 and 3 o'clock in the morning because nobody went out till that time. But now it's like you'll be the same amount of business between 6 and 12 because the consumer is now adjusted to going out earlier. So I think we have to. I told everybody, I said you're gonna have to put out like a world, like a national thing. Everybody's gonna have to agree the bars are gonna close at maximum like 2.
We're all on board.
And make going out at 7 really cool. Like being out at 7 o'clock is the it time to be out, right? So I know it makes me feel cooler because I'm like I only go out at 7 and 8 o'clock, and I'm back by 10 always now because I'm old.
Same.
And so, yeah, I'm like, ooh, it's like cool right now. Everybody's here. The bar's busy. It's kind of nice. All right. So one of the last 2 questions I want to talk about. So let's talk about whiskey. So being learning about whiskey and education. Whiskey education it's a lot. It's a lot of information. Obviously from Scotch to Irish to bourbon to rye, all and becoming an expert within a field is never easy. It takes a lot of time and effort. So KAYLA, I'll start with you. Like, what are some of the ways that how have you learned about whiskey? Like, where did you get your skill sets from?
Yeah, I mean, well, Brown-Forman, again, we had such direct access to the master distillers. We'd go down to Kentucky and meet with them and have really immersive trainings. Lots of reading. I'm sure you guys know Heather Green. I've read her book and looked to her a lot for a lot of information over the years. And then asking local experts, like just anybody that knows what they're talking about, ask them to sit down and have an actual conversation. So it's been a myriad of people before me, people after me. I'm still learning stuff from people who are just starting. So lots of people. It's always people.
Lots of people. And lots of hands-on. Yeah. I find going to the distillery itself can be really eye-opening.
Yes.
Yeah. And I also took the WSET level 3. That was also really eye-opening.
Yes.
Really very, very intense. Have you taken it?
No, but I can imagine.
It is something random. But I was going to say, well, GINA, I know you have done it all. Like, you've done all the certificates. So, yeah, tell us the things you've done.
Well, I haven't done it all. There's more to do. There's always more to do. Yeah, I mean, KAYLA's right. Like, when you have an opportunity to sit down with an author, a distiller, a master blender, anybody who, spends a significant amount of their time or all of their time on the subject or producing whiskey in some way or researching history or whatever it is, talk to them, ask the questions. But, that's not always possible. I was very lucky to go through a great training program when I worked for the Diageo portfolio. I got a lot of certifications through that program. A few that I found a lot of. I just felt were really. Sorry,
I didn't mean to cut you off. Which ones would you recommend?
Yeah, so a few that I felt were really helpful was the Bourbon Stewardship or the Executive Bourbon Stewardship from Moonshine University. That's a really great one. They take that on tour now. Their home is in Louisville, though. They've got a lot of other courses as well. They're very technically focused. Filson Society, if you're looking at American whiskey, they're focused. Michael Veach has a course it's all on history, and any of his books are really great if you're looking at his history references. Through the IBD, I got the General Certificate of Distillation. That's really great, but super intense. Like, set aside 8 months of your life for that, because that's going to take all you got for 8 months. There's a ton of great certifications. I wish I could tell you that there's a great certification for Canadian whiskey to take right now, but there isn't. However, Ding, ding, ding. We've taken the last year to develop an online course. It's a 4-week course that we are going to be, we are on the way to making a certification. So stay tuned for that. Coming soon. Probably this fall, it should be a Canadian whiskey certification.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, there's a ton of great books to read, you know, a ton of great authors. Just immerse yourself. You know, I say, you know, if you're looking at one brand, don't immerse yourself in the brand, immerse yourself in the category. Mm-hmm. And then expand out to other categories so you really understand how it fits into the whole, you know, scheme of everything.
Yeah, no, I think that's great advice. Yeah, it's like learning the fundamentals well, just understanding what fermentation is or distillation and how it works, and having that deep dive, because then you can ask the right questions when you are sitting down with the distiller, because every distiller is different. Like I remember sitting down with one distiller and I realized he knew how to distill what he was distilling, but he didn't understand the science of it. Like he was really good at what he did, like but when I talked about like other, like he couldn't really break it down for me in a way that, in a consumer friendly way, like where it made sense to me. Like he could break it down in a very scientific that made sense to him. So I think the more you know, the more you're able to break down more complex terms so that other people can digest them. And every time you hear it, the easier it gets, and you're just like adding on that knowledge with it. That's why when I took the WSET level 3, it was the first time I was like, it's probably the 20th time I've learned about, you know, or 50th or 100th time I've learned about distillation, but never to that level of like breaking down into the smaller parts. And it's really helped me understand spirits in a much deeper way, which has been really, really helpful. And once you have those fundamentals, every spirit kind of follows the same path. You know, they all have a raw material fermentation, you know, they all go through that. It makes it, you're kind of like just layering the information on after that. At least that's what I found in my experience.
Yeah, and that's studying for the CSS, I felt like was a jumping point for a lot of people to learn about distillation. The workbooks on that are just a great starting point for, this is what distillation is, these are the spirits. Because I feel like with single malts too, especially, a lot of people will like Scotch but not understand what sherry is, or vice versa. So just diving into, like GINA said, not just one brand, but all spirits.
Yeah, the actual category itself. No, that's great advice. All right, so I think we have shown a lot of key learnings, but about one of the things in your career, if there's any last words of advice that you would like to give, if somebody's a new brand ambassador, or maybe they're only, you know, not as experienced brand ambassador out there, like, you know, one piece of advice, whatever it could be about expenses, presentations, things you've learned, you're like, this is something I learned, you should know this, and KAYLA?
I know, I'm like, I gotta, there's so many. But I think like mostly just have, you know, do your job but have fun. I think a lot of my initial year, like my first year, was spent with a lot of stress, and it just felt like I was trying to take on too much, and now my job is second nature. I love my job. I wake up every day and I'm grateful to work and enjoy going to work, which I think is something that, you know, not a lot of people get to say, unfortunately. So if you really make this, you know, being a brand ambassador is kind of your chance to you're your own product. You're like selling yourself. You can become whatever you want to be in this field. So just have fun and try not to stress so much, I guess which is easier said than done.
That's great words of advice. As we said before, we're selling alcohol.
Yes.
You're not curing the world of anything. So you should it should be a job that you really enjoy and have fun at. GINA?
I mean, I would say early is on time. You know, I think no matter what facet of this job you're talking about, whether it's getting your expense report in, or, you know, being at an account or at a training at a specific time, whatever it is, early is on time. Do not be late. That's all that I can say. Do not be late.
I think that's great, because also being late is stressful. it is such a stressful, like being prepared, like prepare the day before for the thing you have the next day so that you're like not stressed out. Like you can just kind of relax into it as much as you can, because yeah, being late can make your life. I used to always be late. Now I try to aim to always be 15 minutes early. Or if something is due, like try to get in, like I always schedule things like 3 days before they're actually due. And then I'll actually get it in on time. But no, I think those are all great words of advice. Well, ladies, this has been awesome. It's been really lovely to get to know you, Kayla. It's been great to catch up with you, GINA.
Yeah.
I look forward to being able to see you, the ladies in person one of these days.
Yes.
To have some whiskey, at 6 o'clock when we're all before.
Yes.
Yeah. In that time. So hopefully, something brings you here to New York, or I'm going to Chicago. Trade shows might happen again.
I think so.
I think so. BCB is happening.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. So yeah, I'm definitely going to that. I will be there as soon as I can get on a plane. I don't even have to go on a plane. I just have to get on a train to go to BCD. But anyway, but thank you so much. It was really, really helpful. This will live on the Facebook page for the next 2 weeks. So feel free to share it anywhere, and I'll probably make a little clip and post and put it on Instagram tomorrow. But thank you again for your time. This has been great.
Thank you so much.
It was
And
fun.
thank you, Anthony, for tuning in.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Bye.
Cheers, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, if I end this.